Welcome to Business Bounce and Beyond. I'm super excited. We have Barbara Whiteside with us today. She gets the job done. It's her catchphrase for today and forevermore. Number two, the thing we're going to be talking about today are systems, and this is a really important topic. Barbara, if you wouldn't mind just kind of introducing yourself to the listeners, and then we'll jump into some of the stuff.
Yeah, sure. I've been in the real estate industry for about 11, 12 years. I started off selling new construction. I learned a lot about selling houses while I was doing that, but I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. So I getting my license at the end of 2015. And since then, I have been a real estate agent. It took me, probably about a year and a half, 2 years for my business to take off. After about into the third year, I started selling about 120 to 125 houses a year for several years until basically just started working for people and not being the one doing all that. So that's just kind of a little short summary of my journey to get here.
I love that. Well, again, thank you so much for being here today. So, when we're talking about system, we're specifically talk more so to the realtor side. So
Okay.
that's where you're at.
Yes.
What would you say, or well, let's put it this way: at what point should an agent start to put together a system?
I would say when you get to the point where you have, if you've perfected your marketing and you're getting a lot of inbound, or if you are an outbound specific agent, depending on how you start, when you get so many people that you can't remember them by name or that you can't remember when you're supposed to call them. So, I mean, for me, that's probably when I got 10 to 20 leads. And after that, I need a system. So depending on how much your brain can handle, my brain is capped out pretty much after I had
Yeah.
10 or 20 people that had indicated they wanted to work with me. But some people weren't ready for 6 months. Some people were going to be ready next year. Some people next week. I couldn't keep all that straight. So that's when I started developing systems.
Now, let's come back just a second. Mention when people or when a realtor perfects marketing. Can you give us maybe a little description of what would you define as perfecting that?
Well, perfecting marketing is when you know how to make your phone ring.
Yeah.
To me, that's how, So there's lots of ways to do that as a new agent and you're not really sure where to start. Like if you don't have money to pay somebody to do your marketing, then social media, is the way to go and messaging. And I do build systems around my social media as well. But that definitely did start me in making my phone ring, like getting to the point where I had to create systems. I had to manage the people that were calling me.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what systems should we start with?
So I would say, well, I mean, if you don't have any business, you need a system to get business. Uh, So there's systems, let's say social media marketing, right? So one of the first things that I did is I wouldn't say this is necessarily a system, but I can remember being a very keen agent, just knowing, like, coming from working for new construction, they basically do the leads that people want, or even they're doing their advertising, or they position their signage in the neighborhood. And so you basically just get the leads as new construction a salesperson, but when you become a realtor, you got to go find them all. So I created systems. And when I say systems, like this is not super complex. So there's a lot of systems, but I think more is consistency, which is the system for marketing or for generating leads, which was attending networking events. I went to Cyria, Central Indiana Real Estate Investor Association events. Um, and just met people, made connections, and just made sure that I consistently attended all of those that I could possibly attend. So that was my assistant was consistency. And then the same with social media posting. I didn't think that there was Instagram when I became an agent. Maybe I don't, if there was, I didn't use it. I didn't know about it, but Facebook was the big one. And so I had a system where every day I would post something inspirational, something personal, so like about my kids or something. So people got to know me as a person. People felt inspired or motivated by me. And then I would share something about business. So that was my system for generating those leads. That then I had to develop systems around. So that was my system. And then also too, I would make an effort most of the time daily. Again, consistency is key with generating leads, but I would go to people that I knew that maybe I haven't talked to in a while, especially since I was new into real estate. Um, and I would find out what was going on with them and send a message and see if there was anything I could do to help them, let them know, that they could help me by if they have friends or family. And then I think too, consistently posting about or it's almost like vlogging, but sharing your experience. So like I'm in real estate school. Oh my gosh, I gotta study, I got this test. Oh, I gotta pass the state exam. And I did the same thing when I got a job in construction. Like I was praying for that job. I needed that job and changed my life. I was 6 months behind on my mortgage when I got into new construction. It literally changed my life. Like I was going to list my house. So, long story short, I was from the beginning of my journey into real estate. I was just kind of sharing, just more because that's what we did. Like back then, that's when you take a picture of every meal and be like, "I'm eating cereal." That's what we did. That was the beginning of social media. So, sharing your story, your experience, what you're going through, your challenges, the things that you've overcome, and then, who you are personally, what you do professionally, and then things that speak to you that you share to speak to other people as well. So that was my system. And that's basically like, when I was out showing houses, when I got my first client, when I had a listing appointment, I shared. So then I was front of mind for people and they knew that I was the go-to person for real estate. So
That's how I am. I find it really interesting because a lot of when we think of system, we think of automation, we think of technology a lot of times. But exactly what you're saying is essentially a system. It's just doing the same things consistently and making sure you're showing up consistent.
yes.
I'm pretty sure from what I watched this, you probably said consistently at least 3 or 4 times. Right?
It's hard though. Consistency is hard without a system.
So let me ask you this. So for the people that are starting and they're having maybe a problem, because I think you and I both know consistency is hard. And so how can you get people or all of us for them to say, hey, we're trying to pursue a career in real estate or anything for that? Haven't just even bad idea. What can we do to get ourselves to show up and do those things every day?
So for me specifically, what helped me, I got a big whiteboard, one of those 4x8, like, and they sell them at like Home Depot or Lowe's. I think I don't know what the actual name of it is, but it's like shower board. You're supposed to put it on like your shower wall, right? So I got one of those, a 4x8, and I put it on my wall. And I have the goal to make $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
That was my goal. Like at that point in my life, it was like if I make 150,000, I made it, right? So I put 150,000 up like as a top number, and then I broke that down in terms of what that meant that I needed to make per hour, per day, per week, right? So instead of the big number, it's kind of the little number. So because those are easier targets to hit on this big $150,000 number. And I had that in front of me. And then I started writing down the things that I can do to help me achieve that goal, which was making calls, posting on my social media, going to those networking events, right? And just staying in front of people and just being a source for if they had anything that they needed related to real estate. So that I think for me, having it in front of me, like what my goal was, and I didn't, now they talk about why. I didn't really know my why. Now looking back, I knew my why is I needed to be successful. That was something that I was a single mom. I had times where I made really good money, and I had times where like I couldn't feed my family. And we've always made it, thank God. Always had the lights on, always had a roof over our head, and always had food. But it was hard. So for me, my why, which didn't know it at the time, was for me, $150,000 a year made me a successful woman, right? Yes, yes. So yeah. So now as I've grown as a person, as a business person, I do
focus on my why more. But then I just didn't even know. I just knew what I wanted. And I started writing down and breaking it down into actionable items that I could do. And then so when I'm sitting there, I have, I'm 100% commission.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to do but find real estate leads or get real estate leads. So I sat and I looked at that board every day and I just consistently did what was on there. And then if I found new things that I could do, I would add those too.
That's incredible. I want to point out though, a lot of people when they're going through those things are like, "Man, I just feel like I can't get there, like things are not happening the way I want them to." And you said you put down what actionable items that you would do. And I think a lot of people probably get caught up in that space. I'm true myself included in that, where you feel like you're doing the things, and then sometimes we can start feeling with busy work.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh well, I haven't feel productive of
Yep.
some sort, and you can fill out with some of those things that are not actionable, but are actually going to generate business.